Greetings. This is Doc Ock coming at you live and direct from Black Facts Headquarters Central with another day, another holla. Yes, it may seem like we took a break yesterday because yesterday was August 17, 2021, the birthday, the Earth Day of the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey. And what we decided to do yesterday is to, because we were looking for a proper way to celebrate the man's Earth Day, his 134th Earth Day. And so what we decided to do is to create a couple of playlists. And so we did one for you at noon, and we did one for you at 9, and sent it out over all of our networks. So we hope that you saw that and enjoyed it. You didn't even have to hardly see it because a lot of it was music. And so you could just put it on and let it play. And it will play for quite some time, a number of hours. And you could just listen to some sweet sounds of various artists singing the praises of Marcus Mosiah Garvey. But meanwhile, we're moving into the last phase of our month-long celebration of Garvey. And what we're going to do from here on out is we're going to be reading his sayings that we've been doing, but we're also going to be just focused in on his speeches. And so we're going to be picking various parts of various speeches and reading parts of those speeches for the rest of the month. So the next 13 days, that's what we'll be doing for our noontime show. We may do something similar for the evening, but I hadn't quite decided on what or how, because that's, for the design for the youth. And I definitely am trying to keep everybody engaged as much as possible. Meanwhile, you know what we need you to do? Go ahead, give us a like if you're watching on Facebook. Give us a thumbs up if you're watching on YouTube. And then go ahead and spread the word far and wide about Black Facts and what we're doing here, because we're busy trying to put a little more glide back in your stride and a little more pride up in your hide. Think about that for a minute. Meanwhile, let's see what we got here for a saying for today. We had one here, and I think I just went and lost it. Let's see, what does it say? Okay. Here we go. If the Negro is not careful, he will drink in all the poison of modern civilization and die from the effects of it. If the Negro is not careful, he will drink in all the poison of modern civilization and die from the effects of it. All right, so that's our saying for today from Marcus. As for our his speech for today, this one was written January 16, 1923. So this is after the those two famous conventions that he had in New York. So let's see what Marcus had to say in 1923. Excuse me. Oh, wow. Okay. Now, here we go. Oops, let me get my glasses on so I can see. Got to be able to see here. All right, we're doing good. This is from the book, The Philosophy and Opinions of Marcus Garvey, by his second wife, Amy Jacques Garvey. The New York World, under the date of January 15, 1923, published a statement of Drs. Clark Whistler and Franz Boas, some famous anthropologists. The latter, a professor of anthropology at Columbia University, confirming the statement of the French that Moroccan and Algerian troops used in the invasion of Germany were not to be classified as Negroes because they were not of that race. So they had to put out a statement saying that. If you got to put out a statement to say something's already messed up, right? How the French and these gentlemen arrived at such a conclusion is marvelous to understand, but I feel it is the old-time method of depriving the Negro of anything that would tend to make him recognized in any useful occupation or activity. Oh, I forgot to read what the title of this piece is. Who and what is a Negro? That's the title of the piece. So he continues on. The custom of these anthropologists is whenever a black man, whether he be Moroccan, Algerian, Senegalese, or whatnot, accomplishes anything of importance, he is no longer a Negro. Let me say that again. I know you didn't hear me. The custom of these anthropologists is whenever a black man, whether he be Moroccan, Algerian, Senegalese, or whatnot, accomplishes anything of importance, he is no longer a Negro. The question therefore suggests itself, who and what is a Negro? The answer is, a Negro is a person of dark complexion or race who has not accomplished a goddamn thing, and to whom others are not obligated for any useful service. Emphasis was mine. If the Moroccans and Algerians were not needed by France at this time to augment their occupation of Germany or to save the French nation from extinction, they would have been called Negroes as usual. But now that they have rendered themselves useful to the higher appreciation of France, they are no longer members of the Negro race, but can be classified among a higher type, as made out by the two professors above mentioned. Whether these professors or France desire to make the Moroccans other than Negroes, we are satisfied that their propaganda before has made these people to understand that their destiny is linked up with all other men of color throughout the world, and now that the hundreds of millions of darker peoples are looking toward one common union and destiny through the effort of universal cooperation, we have no fear that the Moroccans and Algerians will take care of the situation in France and Germany, peculiar to the interest of Negroes throughout the world. Let us not be flattered by white anthropologists and statesmen who from time to time, because of our success here, there, or anywhere, try to make out that we are no longer members of the Negro race. If we were Negroes when we were down under the heel of oppression, then we will be Negroes when we are up and liberated from such thraldom. That's right, I said it, thraldom. The Moroccans and Algerians have a splendid opportunity of proving the real worth of the Negro in Europe, and who to tell that one day Africa will colonize Europe, even as Europe has been endeavoring to colonize the world for hundreds of years. Now this is where it gets interesting. Negroes robbed of their history. The white world has always tried to rob and discredit us of our history. They tell us that Tutankhamun, a king of Egypt who reigned about the year 1350 BCE before the Christian era, was not a Negro, that the ancient civilization of Egypt and the pharaohs were not of our race, but that does not make the truth unreal. Every student of history of impartial mind knows that the Negro once ruled the world when white men were savages and barbarians living in caves, that thousands of Negro professors at that time taught in the universities in Alexandria, then the seat of learning that ancient Egypt gave to the world civilization, and that Greece and Rome have robbed Egypt of her arts and letters and taken all the credit to themselves. It is not surprising, however, that white men should resort to every means to keep Negroes in ignorance of their history. It would be a great shock to their pride to admit to the world today that 3,000 years ago, black men excelled in government and were the founders and teachers of art, science, and literature. The power and sway we once held passed away, but now in the 20th century, we are about to see a return of it in the rebuilding of Africa. Yes, a new civilization, a new culture shall spring up from among our people, and the Nile shall once more flow through the land of science, of art, and of literature, wherein will live black men of the highest learning and the highest accomplishments. Professor George A. Kersnor, head of the Harvard-Boston expedition to the Egyptian Sudan, returned to America early in 1923, and after describing the genius of the Ethiopians and their high culture during the period of 750 BCE to 350 CE in Middle Africa, he declared the Ethiopians were not African Negroes. He described them as dark-colored races showing a mixture of black blood. Imagine a dark-colored man in Middle Africa being anything else but a Negro. Some white men, whether they be professors or whatnot, certainly have a wide stretch of imagination. The above statements of the professors support my contention at all times that the prejudice against us as Negroes is not because of color, but because of our condition. If black men throughout the world as a race will render themselves so independent and useful as to be sought out by other race groups, it will simply mean that all the problems of race will be smashed to pieces and a Negro would be regarded like anybody else, a man to be respected and admired. The hybrids of South Africa. More than a year ago, the natives of South Africa started to press the limited white population to the wall in the demand of Africa for the Africans. The prejudiced Boers and others were willing then to let down the color bar and admit to their ranks socially and otherwise the half-breed colored people whom they once classified as impossible hybrids, to be despised by both whites and natives. Now they are endeavoring to make common cause with these so-called half-breeds of South Africa, so as to strengthen their position against the threatening ascendancy of the demand for a free and redeemed Africa for the blacks of the world. In an editorial dated March 29, 1923, the Abantu Batho of Johannesburg states, among other things, the Cape-colored people have been promised absorption by politicians, particularly those of the Dutch race. Indeed, we are suspicious that all this talk about absorption is a political trap which has been set to capture the colored vote in the Cape. It is the business of the politician to strengthen his position by getting as many supporters as possible. To do this, he must of necessity be diplomatic. That is to say, he must know how to get around the people, and the only way to get around the people is to put before them a beautiful picture of what one intends to do. There can be no doubt that to the Cape-colored people, the idea of their absorption by the white race represents a beautiful ideal for the attainment of which they are prepared to sacrifice everything. They cannot be blamed for this. As a distinct community, they have no past traditions, no laws, and no language, which things constitute the pride of every race of mankind. These sons of Hagar are in an awkward position. They despise the people of Hagar because Hagar's people are despised by the people of Abraham. They are suffering because of the gulf that exists between their mother's people and those of their fathers. The difference between the treatment meted out to the colored people and the Africans does not in any way signify that the whites have more consideration for the colored people. It will be remembered that when Lord Selborne left this country in 1909, he warned the white people of South Africa against putting the Cape Colored in the same category as Africans, because that would unite the two sections of the African peoples to fight for their common rights. Since then, the policy has been to differentiate in the treatment of the two sections so as to make combined action impossible. That is to say, thus it is not saying too much to aver that the real object of the white race is to make the Cape-colored people a buffer between the Africans and the Europeans. As a buffer, the Cape-colored people can never have the same rights as whites. Now the question is, what are they to do? Will they be satisfied with a position of this kind? Or will they follow the lead of our cousins in America and classify themselves as Africans? In our opinion, this is the only way to the salvation of the Cape-colored people. They are Africans and not Europeans. And the sooner they realize it, the better. White people will seek every opportunity to fraternize with any race in the world, even one that they despised yesterday, if by so doing they can strengthen their own position, whether it be in Europe, Africa, or elsewhere. But it is for 400 million people who have been discriminated against throughout the world to take a decided stand. And for once, we will agree with the American white man that one drop of Negro blood makes a man a Negro, so that 100% Negroes and even 1% Negroes will stand together as one mighty whole to strike a universal blow for liberty and recognition in Africa. Now that was an interesting piece. That was a very, very interesting piece. What is the Negro? Because Garvey just laid that out in a few pages. It was only like less than 4 pages, and he just laid that out. And what he's explaining to us is exactly what we're seeing happening today. In this whole business with people of color, I reject that wholeheartedly. I am not a person of color, okay? I'm not a person of color. If I'm a person of color, let me put it to you this way. If I am a person of color and you are a person of color, the only question we need to answer then is, what color are we? Because white, as far as I know, is still a color. And if white is not a color, then white people do not exist. Then we must have to call them translucent people, see-through people, because they're the only ones that are supposedly not colored. So then white is no longer a color. If whites are no longer a color, then I have to throw out all my white socks, my white underwear, everything I got that's white, I have to throw it out because it doesn't exist anymore, because white is no longer a freaking color. What do you call white? White is a color. People of color. It's a meaningless term. It means nothing. Nothing. It has no meaning. People of color. What the hell y'all talking about? People of color. I'm not a person of color. I'm a black man living in America, period, dot. That's what I am. Now, if you look anything like me, you got any bit of color like this in your skin, you black too. You can be much like, you can be the color of this side of my hands and still be a black man. Okay? Because one drop, as he's saying here, this is one thing we agree with white folks on. One drop of black blood makes you black. Period. Dot. That's what they call the one drop rule. And I don't remember when they rescinded that rule and said that rule doesn't work anymore. I do not recall that happening. And as a matter of fact, if you have an encounter with the police or any kind of law enforcement agencies, as soon as they look at you, that one drop rule is in force. Okay? They are not going to go back and look at your records and go through all your case history and everything and say, oh, whoa, wait a minute. This guy's not a black guy. We shouldn't kick his ass. No, they're not going to say that. You in for a whooping regardless. Okay? You're already in for a beat down. So based on the way that you look, period, dot, or the way that you act, or a little bit of both, either way. Meanwhile, or even the way that you talk. Meanwhile, we've gone over our time, but I found that I discovered that little piece yesterday and found that it was a real jewel. I hadn't read the whole thing, but I got the gist of it. So we'll be reading pieces like this the rest of the week. Stick with us. Excuse me, not the rest of this week, for the next 2 weeks, for the next 13 days. Okay, all the way to the end of the month. So stick with us and see what other kind of jewels we come up with, because you just don't know. And again, remember that one there was vintage, 1923, nearly 100 years ago to the date. Nearly 100 years ago. Garvey said that, and we're still dealing with the very same issue. That says a lot. In the meanwhile, on Facebook, give us a like. On YouTube, a thumbs up. And then go ahead and subscribe to the Tubular Black Facts channel right here on YouTube. Meanwhile, we're going to say peace out without a doubt. We will be black tonight, so look for us. Not in the whirlwind, not in the storm, but in your mobile phone. Look for us there, because we'll be there. Hopefully you'll be square when we arrive there. And we're going to say Tuta Anana to Ele Kanawo. Oh, wrong device. Ele Kanawo. And who else is over there? Tunde. All right. Oh, Ifaponle. All right. There we go. And y'all don't have to put diacritical marks on this, so I don't know how you got the accents going, which direction they're going. I'm just doing the best I can. Peace out without a doubt, y'all. With justice, because anything less disgusts us.